Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome to another episode of my Road to $1 Million in Net Worth series where I'm attempting to reach a $1 million net worth by the time I am 30 years old, and I'm currently 24 years old. I'm also trying to reach a $30,000 per year passive income sometime before then, and I'm documenting my progress every single month on the first of the month, so be sure to subscribe if you haven't already so you don't miss any of those updates. But today, June 1st, 2021 marks a big day for me since it's my very first day as a full-time associate at a large law firm here in Chicago. I've been working part-time for the same firm, and I'm going to be doing commercial real estate law for the foreseeable future. I'm really happy I was able to land a spot in commercial real estate since that's the area of law I prefer to practice, so really happy that I got that out of school, especially given how last year went with hiring and with the entire legal industry in general, and really just the entire economy in general. There's a lot of uncertainty with real estate. I was not 100% sure if I was going to be able to keep the job until I graduated, but thankfully I did, and finally day one begins today, so just relieved and happy that I'm finally getting started. Just a few weeks ago, I had my virtual graduation ceremony. I received my law license in the mail, and I'm good to go for practicing as an attorney. And as for the job in particular, I'm splitting time between work and home as I have been as a clerk, which is what I was doing before I was officially licensed as an attorney, and now I'm starting as an attorney. So it's going to be largely the same work, but it'll be a lot more of it. But generally, as a first-year associate, I'm working under partners at the law firm, and they're the ones who generally supply the clients since they've been around the business for a lot longer than I have. And by nature of having many connections, they need a team to help them get through the many legal issues that the clients will bring up. In the case of commercial real estate, it's a lot of big transactions. So getting from point A to point B, getting through the sale, getting through the lease, whatever it is, getting through the loan. I'm helping to get through that legal work, and I don't really have a particular specialty right now. I just take what I can get, and I'm trying to learn as much as I can from it. One extra perk of this job, at least when I come into the office in person, is that the office is in the Willis Tower, aka the Sears Tower. So it's in one of the most iconic office buildings in the world. And it's really cool because I've really only been there as a kid for like the touristy kind of experience, and to actually work there is pretty awesome. I'm actually all the way up on the 81st floor, so it's a spectacular view. Now, I'm not actually supposed to film in the office, so here's a view from the 66th floor, and you can see it's just really cool to be really in any building in Chicago downtown. There's just a lot of great views, but it's just a little bit sweeter when you're a little bit higher up. And being a real estate guy myself, being able to see all the buildings from this view is pretty cool. Once I have a little more actual full-time experience on the job, I definitely plan on doing a day in the life video, so definitely stay tuned for that and subscribe if you haven't already, where I'll go through my whole day as an attorney, what the sort of workflow looks like, since it is big law, and big law is known to be very intense, and it is intense. It's a lot of work, and I definitely want to go over that once I have a more established routine and have a better idea of what I'm actually up against right now. And even though I've been working part-time and I have some idea of what the full-time experience is going to be like, I do want to wait till I have a little bit more experience under my belt before I bring you that video. But for the purposes of this series, perhaps the most important fact is that I'm now working full-time, so my income is going to be much higher than it was working part-time or while I was in school, where my ability to actually work a full-time job was severely limited, and I couldn't get as high-paying job as I would have if I had all this extra time to work a full-time job. And as I mentioned in the previous episode, I'm on the hunt for another property, and now that I can actually get pre-approved for a mortgage in my own name if I don't do it through my LLC, if it's not an Indianapolis property, and if I get another one in Chicago where it'd be a primary residence most likely. I'm definitely looking very closely at the market every day, but it's very hard given the lack of supply, so I'm just going to be patient, and I'm going to try to jump on a deal as soon as I can find one. But anyways, let's get into the numbers. As a reminder, last month my net worth was $74,954.73. And if you want to check out all the data for yourself, another reminder that I always include a tracker spreadsheet in the description below where you can look at all the numbers yourself. It actually has an updating stock table that shows all my stock holdings, and it uses the live price, so you can actually see my holdings in real time. At least in my taxable accounts, I'll definitely add more to the spreadsheet as I go along, and as my holdings increase and as things maybe get more complicated. Definitely want to have this to be a nice one-stop shop for a snapshot into all my finances. I'm trying to offer as much transparency as possible. As always, let's start with the good stuff, the assets. Our cash remains relatively unchanged, and our stock portfolio did go up quite a bit this last month, mainly because of our gold holdings, since gold did rally quite a bit. I think as Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies fell across the board, there seemed to be almost like a rotation into gold a bit. I don't know, could be a coincidence, but that certainly helped us out quite a bit. As a reminder, my gold holdings mainly are to position myself so that I'm still liquid, but I'm still protected and insulated against inflation in all likelihood. Not financial advice by any means. That's the strategy that I'm taking. It might not be right for you, but that is a significant part of my portfolio. But the month-to-month changes aren't that important. What is useful is the fact that I can leverage this portfolio, particularly the M1 Finance portion of it. At 35% is what M1 Finance does. So if I wanted to pull out a margin loan at a nice 2% interest, that would be about 25 to 30 grand I could pull out right away and use that as a down payment or for rehab or whatever it happens to be. I have that liquidity there, which is nice, and I wouldn't have to sell my holdings if I didn't want to. I'm slowly liquidating the Lending Club portfolio since the platform is actually closing down, so I'm moving money out of that as my notes get paid back, and I'm probably moving out about $100 or $200 per week, so that will slowly get whittled down and eventually that will be empty. I officially have to stop writing blogs for other law firms, which is something that my employer agreed to while I was working part-time, so that is over now that I'm full-time, and I'm waiting on my final invoices that I just sent out for the remaining articles I had in the pipeline. My little speculative pocket down here in cryptocurrency got hammered quite a bit, but it's a small portion of my portfolio since it is a very speculative and volatile asset, and I'm not really sure what's going to happen to it long term, so I'm not putting a huge portion of my net worth in there, but thought I'd note it. Which means we have $405,157.29 in assets. And now onto liabilities. Credit cards will be paid. This is not an overdue balance or anything like that. This is just my outstanding balance since payments aren't due yet. Those are getting paid down right away, so don't worry about that. I always pay down my credit cards. I often highlight that since I just want to make sure people understand that paying credit card interest is a really terrible deal. Don't do that. One of the nice things that's going to be happening this summer is Emily Ann's tuition bills are going to slow down since she won't be taking as many classes and will instead be doing a more clinical focus. So the bleeding will stop a little bit there, which will be great. And then eventually that will be completely done by August of next year. And we still have that $60,000 in HELOC balance available if we want to use it, again, for maybe a down payment, maybe to actually buy a property outright if it's a really cheap one or something like that. But 60 grand is a nice little flexible cushion that we can have in liquidity that's ready to go at pretty much any time. And that's at 2.25% interest right now. Of course, the credit line could get closed down for some reason or frozen, and that would be a shame. But now that we have a lot more liquidity elsewhere, that's not as much of a risk as it was, say, back in March of last year. In total, that leaves us to $328,835.88 in liabilities, which means that our net worth is $76,321.41, which is an increase of $1,366.69. So our debt ratio has remained pretty steady at 81.16%, and our monthly passive income has remained at $350 per month. I'm really excited for this next month, not only because I'm starting a new job, but also because I can start shopping for properties in earnest and can start getting a little bit more aggressive with investing. And that's something I've been very excited to do ever since I left my old full-time job when I switched to full-time school and then part-time work. Now I'm switching back to full-time work, which is going to be great for actually being able to invest more aggressively since I'll have more consistent cash flow coming in just from my job, not necessarily from my investments at the moment. The question will be how to allocate our salary between debt versus investing. I think given the inflation concerns and the inflationary environment I think we're going to continue to go through, I would rather invest than pay off debt, at least fixed rate debt. My HELOC is variable rate, so I would prefer to pay that off first just to eliminate that interest rate risk. Plus I could always pull that money back out since it is revolving, which is a nice perk of most HELOCs, if not all HELOCs. That's the whole point. I think we'll lean towards more aggressive investing in the meantime, at least while we're shopping for our next property. Maybe after we buy that property, we can slow down a bit, get our bearings back, and start paying down some debt in the meantime. That's one option. We'll have some flexibility, but I think we'll lean slightly more towards that aggressive investing approach where we're building up the stock portfolio, we're building up the real estate portfolio, we're buying other assets, maybe even more cryptocurrency, I don't know. But the point is investing a little bit more as opposed to paying off more debt. But that's all I've got for today. If you like this video, definitely like it since that would help the channel out a lot. And if you want to see more of this series, I put out a new video every single month on the first of the month, so be sure to subscribe so you don't miss any new updates. I also put out lots of other content about investing and personal finance, so if you like that sort of content, be sure to have a look around the channel. And if you like what you see, be sure to subscribe. And check out the affiliate links in the description below. But until next time, take care.